This is one of those moments where you can feel the weight of the entire season sitting on one game. Everything the 49ers have worked for comes down to this matchup against Seattle, with the #1 seed and home field advantage right there for the taking. And if the win over the Bears taught us anything, it's that not everything is as clean as the record might suggest. The offense did its job, no question about it. But defensively, there were some cracks that showed up in a big way. And if those same issues show up again, this Seahawks game could get uncomfortable fast. When you zoom out and look at the situation, the Niners are exactly where they want to be in the standings, but how they got here matters. Seattle has been hanging on to that top spot, and both teams know what it means. Playing playoff football at home, feeding off that crowd, controlling your own destiny all the way to the Super Bowl. That's the goal. That's why this game feels different. It's not just another division matchup. It's a measuring stick, and it's a test of whether this team can clean things up when it matters most. That's why today, we're not talking about the offense. As exciting as it was to watch them put points on the board, the real conversation has to be about the defense. More specifically, what has to change if the 49ers want to slow down a Seahawks offense that is more than capable of turning this into a shootout. If you're being honest with yourself as a fan, you probably walked away from the Bears game thinking, "We got the win, but that can't happen again." And you're not wrong. Before we go any further, let me ask you this. Right now, heading into this Seahawks game, do you feel confident in the defense, yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments because I really want to see where everyone's head is at. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time to do it. We're pushing hard toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single one matters, especially with the playoffs right around the corner. Hit the like button too if you're locked in for this run. As we move forward, the first place we have to start is what the Bears game exposed, because that performance gave Seattle a blueprint of where the pressure points are. And it starts with the secondary and how opposing quarterbacks are finding too much comfort against this defense. When you go back and really break down what happened against the Bears, the warning signs become impossible to ignore, especially in the secondary. Caleb Williams looked far too comfortable for most of that game, and that's the part that should concern you the most. This wasn't a situation where everything broke down on one or two fluky plays. This was sustained success through the air, drive after drive, with Williams able to see the field clearly and take what the defense gave him. Yes, the completion percentage doesn't jump off the screen, but context matters. Over 300 yards, multiple touchdowns, no turnovers, and not getting sacked once tells you everything you need to know. The 49ers never really made life difficult on him. He wasn't forced into rush throws, he wasn't constantly moving off his spot, and he wasn't baited into mistakes. That's a problem, because when a quarterback can settle in like that, it puts immense pressure on the secondary to be perfect, and that's just not realistic. What stood out most was how evenly the ball was distributed. There wasn't one receiver you could circle and say, "That's the only guy beating you." Everyone was involved, chunk plays were happening all over the field, and crucial conversions kept extending drives. That tells you this wasn't just about one bad matchup. It was about communication, spacing, and defenders arriving a step late. Against a quarterback like Williams, that's dangerous. Against Seattle, it could be even worse. Now, it's important to be fair here. This isn't just on the defensive backs. The lack of consistent pass rush plays directly into this. When the quarterback doesn't feel pressure, coverage has to hold longer, and eventually something breaks down. But even with that context, the secondary still has to execute better. Tight windows need to be contested. Routes need to be disrupted. And explosive plays simply cannot be this easy to come by in a game of this magnitude. That's why this matters so much heading into the Seahawks matchup. Seattle has multiple weapons, and they're not afraid to spread the ball around. If the coverage looks anything like it did against Chicago, This turns into a track meet, and that's not a situation you want to rely on every single time. Defensive football in these moments is about forcing mistakes, not waiting for them. So let me throw this question to you. What worries you more right now? The lack of pass rush or the coverage in the secondary? Drop your answer in the comments, because this debate really matters going into this game. And if you agree that the defense has to tighten things up fast, make sure you like the video and subscribe. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and your support helps keep this coverage rolling. Up next, we need to talk about the personnel side of this, because help may be on the way, but it also comes with some major question marks that could decide how this game plays out. This is where the conversation really starts to get interesting, because the personnel decisions heading into this Seahawks game could end up being the difference between a defensive bounce back and another long night. The biggest piece of good news is the expected return of Renardo Green. Getting him back in the lineup matters more than it might seem at first glance. When Green is on the field alongside Diamador Lenoir, the secondary looks more settled, more confident, and far less reactionary. Lenoir has been playing like a true number one corner, and having Green opposite him allows everyone else to fall into more natural roles. That stability is critical, especially against an offense like Seattle's. They don't rely on just one receiver to beat you. They spread the field, they stress your depth, and they force you to tackle in space. Green's return doesn't magically fix everything, but it raises the floor of the entire unit. It means fewer emergency assignments, fewer mismatches, and more opportunities to actually play aggressive football on the outside instead of constantly playing catch-up. But this is where the concern creeps back in, because it's not all good news. The uncertainty around Upton Stout is a big deal. Being in concussion protocol is serious, and there's no guarantee he'll be ready to go. If he can't play, the depth issues become very real, very fast. Stout is a rookie, and like any rookie, he's had his ups and downs, but he's also shown that he can rise to the moment. He's made timely plays, especially in high-leverage situations, and that kind of confidence is hard to replace. Without him, you're asking other players to step into roles they may not be fully prepared for. We saw what that looked like against the Bears. Chase Lucas was thrown into extended action, and while the effort was there, the results were uneven. That's not a knock on him personally. It's just reality. Depth matters more in games like this than at any other point in the season. Seattle will test every corner on the roster, not just your starters. So when you put it all together, this secondary feels like it's walking a tightrope. Getting Renardo Green back is a massive boost, but losing or limiting Upton Stout could cancel some of that out. Execution, communication, and health are all intertwined here, and there's very little margin for error. Let me ask you this. If Renardo Green is back but Upton Stout can't go, do you still feel good about this secondary, yes or no? Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying this breakdown and want more coverage like this heading into the playoffs, hit that subscribe button and help push this channel to 1,000 subscribers. Every bit of support makes a difference. Now, even if the secondary tightens things up, there's another area that quietly caused problems against the Bears, and it has everything to do with the run defense and what's happening at linebacker. Even with all the attention on the secondary, the run defense is the part that can quietly swing this game if it doesn't get cleaned up. Against the Bears, the numbers may not look disastrous at first glance, but when you dig a little deeper, the efficiency tells a different story. Giving up around 5 yards per carry is a red flag, especially when you consider how limited the rushing attempts were. That kind of production means the offense was staying ahead of the chains, and that keeps your defense on the field longer than you want. Now take that and apply it to Seattle. They don't just run the ball to kill clock. They use it to set everything else up. With a backfield that can rotate bodies and keep legs fresh, missed fits and late reactions become costly fast. That's where the second level of the defense really comes into focus, and that brings us straight to the linebacker conversation. Tatum Bethune has been solid since returning, and there's value in that consistency. But this is also where experience can matter more than athleticism. Curtis Robinson not being active in the last game put more stress on the rotation, and it opens the door to a very real question. If Eric Kendricks is on the roster, should he be playing more? This isn't about benching anyone or pointing fingers. It's about maximizing what you have in the biggest moments of the season. Kendricks is a veteran who has seen just about every situation you can imagine in this league. He's played in meaningful games, he understands offensive tendencies, and he knows how to stay disciplined when things get chaotic. We've seen him on the field in limited roles, but the question is, whether limited is enough anymore. When you're facing a balanced offense and a high-stakes environment, sometimes the smartest move is leaning into experience. This Seahawks matchup isn't the time for learning lessons on the fly. It's about trust, communication, and being in the right place at the right time. If giving Kendricks a few more meaningful reps helps tighten run fits and stabilize the middle of the field, that could have a ripple effect across the entire defense. So I want to hear from you on this one. Do you think Eric Kendricks should be getting more snaps in this game, yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you appreciate these deeper breakdowns instead of just surface-level takes, make sure you like the video and subscribe as well. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and your support keeps this kind of coverage coming. With all of that said, when you zoom out and look at both teams, there's one final reality we need to talk about. Because this game may not look anything like the first meeting between these two. See. When you step back and look at this matchup as a whole, it's hard to ignore how evenly these two teams are lined up offensively. Both units can move the ball, both can score in bunches, and both have shown the ability to take over games when they find a rhythm. That's why expecting another low-scoring defensive grind like the first meeting just doesn't feel realistic. This game has all the signs of turning into a shootout, and in that kind of environment, every defensive decision gets magnified. That's what makes health and execution so crucial right now. The 49ers don't need to reinvent who they are defensively, but they do need to be organized and decisive. Getting key players back, putting the right personnel in the right spots, and trusting veterans when the moment calls for it can be the difference between a stop and a touchdown. Against a division rival that knows you as well as Seattle does, surprises are rare. This comes down to who executes better and who makes fewer mistakes. The encouraging part is that the fixes aren't theoretical. They're right there. A healthier secondary, clearer communication, and smarter use of experience at linebacker can all elevate this defense when it matters most. If those pieces come together, the 49ers put themselves in a strong position not just to win this game, but to carry momentum into the playoffs with home field advantage in their pocket. So let me leave you with this. Do you believe this defense steps up when the season is truly on the line? Let me know in the comments, because this is the moment we've all been waiting for as fans. And if you want to stay locked in for everything that comes next, make sure you're subscribed and help this channel reach 1,000 subscribers. Hit the like button as well if you're riding with the Niners into this final stretch.